We're in the content kitchen today, and I wanted to kind of walk through how I prepare as we're getting ready to load up the Meatico cabinet with another load of beef, just start to finish. What I do as far as procurement, the products that I've got, what I'm putting in, I got a couple marinations, and kind of how we're going to get this cabinet reloaded to be ready to go in January with some 30 and 40 day products. So first, I've got some beef sirloin cap. And again, I always talk about high quality beef, so we're using Fisher Farms, high quality products. I've got about 3 picanhas, okay, or the sirloin caps. I have 2 beef tri-tips that I'm going to use as well. And then I have 1 beef strip loin and 2 other cuts that, one more cut, but 2 pieces, 2 Denver chucks. I love this steak. It's great once it's broken down and dry aged. So a couple things are going to get marinated. A couple things are going to get just thrown in, nothing crazy. So for this process, obviously I got all my beef ready to go. I got to get it all opened up. I got to get it cleaned off, dried off to throw into the unit. And then really important to have some sort of pad, notepad. If you don't have weights already on your bags that the beef's been weighed, you want to weigh that as well to make sure that you're getting good starting weights. It's very important to record your data to know what your yield is, depending on what settings you use in your cabinet. So again, we're going to use 80% humidity, high fan, and a 34.7 degree temperature throughout this process for these products. Again, it's kind of that sweet spot that I found that works well. Again, if you wanted a higher yield, you could probably drop that fan to a low and adjust the humidity a little bit. And there are obviously programs you can do as well. Let's get this beef opened up, cleaned up, and show you what we're going to do some marinating first. First is going to be our strip loin. This is a boneless strip loin. We are going to replicate and do another fat washed with Macallan's. So what we did is we took beef fat that was already rendered. We then warmed that up and infused in 1 ounce into 750 milliliters. And all you have to do for that is basically warm that fat up and then put it into the whiskey without vacuum. That's what we used 2 to 4 hours. We only needed about an hour. Then we threw it in the freezer for that fat to solidify, strain that out, and then have the liquid that we have in this pan, a little bit left in the bottle as well. I'm gonna get my weight recorded first. So for our strip loin, we are at 11.61 pounds. And after I get these all recorded and tagged, we'll use these little, I don't know, pokey tag holders, and we'll get that information as well. So that way we can document everything right there. That way we don't forget anything. Also, another reason I like using Fisher Farms product is because it is already a 2-week dry hung carcass. There's not a lot of purge and water weight that I have to work out when I open the bag. It's pretty much, that's what the poundage that is on the bag is what I'm going to get. So I'm just going to give this a quick dry off just for any of that to come off, even though we're going to be putting it into our fat wash. And we're going to be doing that fat side down. So we got a great fat cap on this, and that is to help protect the meat as we dry age. But beautiful, beautiful top loin cut. And what we have in this pan is our fat washed whiskey. And because we're doing it under marination, the rules are a little different. We don't have to go as long because we're pulling those pores open, and that liquid's gonna go into the product. So it's a very tight fit into this pan. It's perfect. And then we will get the lid thrown on, and we will get this under vacuum. Set that off to the side for now. Next, what I wanted to do was a couple of picanhas. So we did some traditional picanhas, but for this one, I want to try, so I've got some Sam Adams cherry wheat, and then I've got some Angry Orchard as well. I want to see what nose we can pick up using different ciders and beers. Haven't tried that yet. We've done wines, whiskeys, so we're gonna try that and see what happens. Okay, set this off to the side as well. And I want to do one more marination with another picanha, but doing it with the cider. Put those in. I'm going to take these three, I'm going to get them sealed up so that we can get them back into the cooler and let the marination function happen. Again, we're doing it under vacuum, so we don't need to go near as long. About 2 hours is what we want to go to impart the flavors that we want without really deteriorating the meat, damaging it in any way. So I will get these vacuum sealed up and we will continue on. We've got all three, those first cuts, they're marinating in the cooler, be ready to go in about 2 hours, show you those when they get done. In the meantime, we've got 2 more sirloin caps, we've got 2 more tri-tips that we just gotta get cut open and we're gonna put in as is. We're gonna do a 30-day, 40-day on these sirloins, and then same with the tri-tips, I wanna do a 30-day and a 40-day, and these both are fat cap on. So let's get these prepped. And no need to trim, you know, like the silver skin, that's gonna turn into a hard pellicle anyway, so no sense in trimming that off when it's, again, just gonna harden up, we're gonna trim it off anyways. And then the same with the, you know, the fat cap, we're gonna leave that as is to protect as much meat as humanly possible. Denvers, but what I'm gonna do, because there's not a lot of fat coverage over the top of it, we need to get some beef tallow on this just to protect it a little bit more in order to get as large of a yield as we can. So I've got some tallow that I'm gonna warm up and then get this coated on here, and then these will, the same thing, we're just gonna tote them in tallow and then we're gonna throw them into the Meatico unit. So I love the door, we can keep it propped open and then we can load these right into. Same thing, we can slide the racks out, makes it easy to put them in. Slide back in. Something to also mention, when I change out the beef, I actually pull out the racks between rounds to make sure that they are clean. And then again, the internal walls will just get cleaned down with water solubles. That way to try and keep any potential harmful bacteria. Again, we got the UV sanitation in the circulation system, so we don't have to worry about that kind of bacteria, but we just want to try and keep that down to as low as possible. We're going to get that tallow melted down and into a state in which we can actually apply it to the top of these Denvers, and then those are going to get loaded up as well. So we got our beef tallow melted down around 105-ish degrees. 105 to 110 is about the sweet spot. You want really cold beef in order to do this dip method. We're only doing the one side, so I mean, we could, if it was at room temp and I left it out, but it's been in the fridge, we could smear it on there. I've not had a lot of luck with that method. So I'm gonna do a few ties around the beef, and then I'm gonna actually dip it in and then be able to flip it back over to just kind of hold it just as that fat solidifies, and then probably get a second dip, and then we'll be able to throw it right into the unit. Or if you wanted, you could do it without the rope, but you could just dip it in and kind of hold aside. Since we're not doing the sides, it's not as imperative. It's just going to be a little bit trickier. Again, we're going to kind of let that solidify on itself with the really cold beef. And we're just trying to get a small layer of coverage to not lose this whole piece during the process. So number 2. And between dips, you could go into the cooler, let it really solidify. But for what I'm doing, this should be plenty good. So as you can see, 2 different ways we've got it done. Dipped, again, it's going to solidify and congeal a bit.
Two hours later.
Marination is completed on our cherry beer and our cider beer, as well as our fat wash on our top loin. We're gonna pop these all open, get them dried, and then those will go into the unit as well. The smell is incredible. This is the top loin that was fat washed, marinated, just incredible. Let's get that out. We'll remove as much moisture as we can from the outside, just the excess. Obviously, it's going to have absorbed quite a bit, but we want the outside to be as dry as we can so the pellicle forms properly. Okay, 1 cut. Number 2 is our cider. Wow, and you can just smell that cider has absorbed into that product. Crazy. And the last one is our cherry. I'm actually going to make sure we mark these properly so I don't lose it. Oh yeah, really get that cherry smell on that one. So these are all gonna go in. We're gonna go 30 days on both the picanhas, and then on the top loin, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go in 30 days, try some, go 60, try some, go 90, and try some just to see if there's any intensity of flavor with the fat washed product. So we're gonna load these up, and that's it. Now, if you noticed in the cabinet, I had one piece that I've still got a dry age 90 day that's going. Fresh meat always goes at the bottom. You don't want anything to drip down. I do keep a sheet pan at the bottom just to help anything that happens to fall down if some of that tallow fell off or any of the liquids. So that way it doesn't affect any of our current products. So fresh stuff always at the bottom. So we will check back with you as these get done after the new year. Very excited to see the results. Stick around.